All right, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about how you can scale your direct-to-consumer DTC business, because Amazon's great, but we're always looking for what is that way that we can go beyond Amazon. Because if you're not selling on your own DTC store and you're not scaling that, you're leaving money on the table, both in sales as well as margin and profitability, and a lot of customer data, which we'll be getting into here in just a moment. So my name is Kevin Sanderson. I am with Noah Wickham, which I think if I'm pointing this way, it's correct, because on my screen, it looks like I'm pointing the other way, but it's because I see a mirror. But yes, so we're going to be talking about how you can scale your direct-to-consumer sales. So I'm just kind of curious, for those of you who are joining us, let us know in the comment real quick, what percentage of your sales comes from your own store? Not from Amazon, not from whatever channel, but your own store. If you have a D2C website, is it 90%? Is it 0.9%? Like it's 99% Amazon? Let us know in the comments. Don't worry, we won't judge you. No one's grading. All we're here to do is to help everybody take it to the next level, wherever you're at, and just make improvements so that when you're looking back at this time next year, you're like, wow, I really scaled it up and things went well. So there's different phases of D2C, so we'll get into all of that. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Oh, looks like we do have Mike joined in and said 0. That's okay. You know what? You can't fall off the floor. You have nowhere to go but up, and we're going to help you go up with that, so that you can scale your D2C business. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So let's do it this way. So basically, folks, we're going to be talking again about scaling your D2C, direct-to-consumer sales on your own website. One of the things to keep in mind is Amazon is a very powerful channel, but it should not be your only growth channel. You're leaving a lot of money on the table, as I was mentioning earlier, not just with lost sales, but also lost profitability and margins. And we're going to help you with that here today. So 3 reasons to scale your D2C channel is, 1, you have better margin, as I was alluding to earlier. Amazon's taking a lot of fees, out that you wouldn't have the same fees in your own store. Amazon is very protective of customer data. They give us lots of reports, but they're very guarded in what they actually give us. Try to get like the customer's, address from, whoever bought a certain product in the last 6 months. Good luck with that. You might be able to scrape some data, maybe use third-party services to kind of match it back and forth, but you don't get the emails. You don't get the ability to make repeat purchases. So we're going to be talking about all of that, how you can, those are 3 reasons why you should be scaling your direct-to-consumer sales. And so we're going to be talking about how you can improve on all of that. So today you're going to learn how to build a profitable store, how to utilize the right traffic sources and ads, and how to convert more visitors. Because one of the things we are going to talk about is how the funnel works on your direct-to-consumer store is a little bit different than it is on Amazon. At the end of the day, it's attention and getting people to purchase. And so how you do that is going to be different in some of the tactics, which we're going to go over here today. So a little bit about us here at My Amazon Guy. You're probably familiar. We're the agency that gets your products seen and sold. We're well known for Amazon. And that, we have about 400 clients, about $1.2 billion in sales that we oversee for our clients each year. But we're also a full service D2C agency. So we do the gamut, whether it be paid media, email, conversion rate optimization, creatives, SEO, web development. All those services are all under one roof. And so believe it or not, we're actually larger than most D2C specialized agencies on D2C sales. But because we're so well known for Amazon, a lot of people don't know that. So we get to see what works and what doesn't holistically for sellers. So a little bit about your host. I have Noah Wickham here. So Noah, if you could introduce yourself to folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Noah Wickham. I am our VP of Sales and Marketing here at the company. And a little known fact about me that many people obviously know me for a lot of the content that I produce here at My Amazon Guy. around Amazon and selling everything, but Amazon actually is not how I got my start in e-commerce in general. I actually started on eBay, transitioned into Shopify, and Amazon was my third stop within the e-commerce realm. And so I do have quite a bit of experience within this realm. And as Kevin was just saying, our company is extended into direct consumer at this point in time with the sales channels of Shopify, WooCommerce. We do Walmart, we do TikTok, a lot of this, right? And I think a lot of people have a struggle still to this day on knowing when they should go omni-channel in e-commerce. And so today we're going to be talking about some of the basics around direct consumer, why direct consumer is a good area to start to dig into, some of the strategies that I would employ immediately as a direct consumer seller right now. And then from there, we'll kind of open up into a more conversational QA aspect as well for anybody who has questions and whatnot as well. So hoping everybody has their questions prepped. And if you have a question at any point in time, throw it in the chat and whatnot so we can just get into it.
Awesome. Well, let's do it.
Awesome. So what we're going to start off with today, like I said, is talking a little bit about marketing in direct to consumer, because marketing, as we all know, on Amazon is fairly linear. You have only a few variable options with marketing on Amazon. You have your sponsored products, you have your sponsored brands, you have your sponsored display, then you have DSP. And throughout all of those, realistically, sponsored products is going to be the breadwinner when it comes to Amazon, because it's directly on platform where the majority of people already are. And so when it comes to direct consumer sales and direct consumer, we kind of have a broad net here. It typically is going to mean anything on your own website. You have a lot of different avenues you can go. You can go down the route of meta advertising, Google advertising, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, email marketing. There are a lot of different channels, but a lot of people don't understand what each one of those channels is best at. So what we're first going to dig into today is we're going to look at the direct consumer funnel. We're still showing Kevin. Let's redo that. Hold on. Let's go back here. There we go.
There we go.
All right. So what is a direct consumer funnel? Well, a marketing funnel, I should say. Essentially, it's exactly as you imagine. And many people already know Amazon's ICAP funnel if you're coming here as an Amazon seller. Impressions, clicks, ad carts, and purchases. Well, direct consumer marketing funnel is very similar to an ICAP funnel in the sense that they serve the same purposes. At the very top of this, we are always going to have our awareness bubble, right? So we're going to have awareness. Awareness is any form of advertising or any form of just traffic where you are trying to get your brand name out there. This means that essentially you could be doing this through an organic outreach. You can be doing this through an aspect of paid outreach as well, commercial, video, any of that technically can fall into awareness. The point of awareness is to just grow your brand recognition. Now, that leads us into consideration, right? This is when we're actually trying to generate interest and get people to evaluate our overall product and potential for our product. Now, consideration is what we would consider to be the middle of the funnel. It's realistically where we're actually looking at the different customers or different prospects, I should say, and trying to get them to come onto our website. So the difference in this can be varied when it comes to advertising. For instance, you can have affiliate marketing, right? And have people who are doing UGC content. UGC, for those that don't know, is user-generated content for specifically trying to generate awareness around the brand. You can also have exactly those for consideration, trying to get people to purchase. The difference between these two types of content would be somebody talking about how awesome your brand is, whereas you have another person who directly is saying, hey, you should go buy this now. Those are two very different types of ads that you would run within a direct consumer marketing funnel. Now, we get into the actual conversion. A big thing that I like to talk about within conversion, this is when people are actually buying from us. Fantastic. We want sales. We want people to buy from us. We want more people to actually try and purchase our product. Now, a big thing that I always will say within direct consumer marketing funnel is this idea that just because somebody purchases from you one time, that does not make them a customer. The reason why I say it doesn't make them a customer is because I require somebody to buy from you at least 2 times before they are a customer. If somebody only buys from you once, they are still technically what I would consider within a consideration aspect. They have interest, they did buy the product, but they're not buying the product very often. And so this is where we get into this realm of what we're going to consider to be retention, right? Retention is when we're actually getting prospects to buy our products more than once. We're getting them to be frequent shoppers of our brand. This is loyalty post-purchase. Now, there's realistically only a few handful of ways to get people from a conversion funnel into a retention funnel. The marketing that we're going to be doing within a retention funnel is going to be typically email and SMS. Those are the 2 primary retention levers that you're going to have within direct to consumer to actually utilize them. Now, many people are probably going to ask themselves, well, what kind of, service should I use for this? And my answer typically for that, when we're looking at retention, is Klaviyo. For anybody who is interested in utilizing Klaviyo at some point in time, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a direct partnership with them, can get you guys great rates with Klaviyo. But let's talk a little bit more about post-retention, right? Because the reality is the best way and the best sales to have are those in which you don't have to advertise them. You don't have to actually go and generate the leads. You don't even have to build awareness. The best kind is when we have advocacy. Advocacy is what we're going to consider our customers who are going out of their way to make content and make videos and talk about your brand without you needing to do anything. This can also be considered referral marketing, right? And referral marketing, by and large, a lot of people tend to look at it as a direct one-to-one transaction where referral is very similar to affiliate. But the reality is, it's not actually the case. The majority of what you're going to see from advocacy are people who really just love the brand. My favorite example of this is any form of subscription box service. I always have used Bespoke Post as an example. You can look at something like ButcherBox, right? Or you can look at any of these subscription boxes. A large part of their entire strategy is the advocacy because they are sending out new product every single month. They have a very loyal customer base. And then eventually those customers love to do unboxings. We'll make videos doing unboxings. And we could go to YouTube right now and we could go and search up any form of subscription box unboxing. And we can just immediately see that, boom, we have tons of different creators who are making subscription box unboxing. Seems like this pink envelope lady is doing the primary of it, right? And so all of these people are doing subscription box unboxings, right? And this is what we would consider in the funnel to actually be advocacy. We have people who are now promoting, we have people who are referring other people via their own content to our brand. So this is the direct consumer marketing funnel. So where in each one of these should you realistically be focused if you're trying to scale on direct consumer? And my answer realistically is that when you first launch on direct to consumer, you should not be focused on your awareness. And I say that because the primary thing that will end up driving you down is not being able to convert any of your awareness into consideration or conversions. So majority of brands, what they end up doing is they try and just get their name out there. They try and get a bunch of, UGC content and just get people talking about their brand, right? That's a problem because what ends up happening is nobody then buys the product, right? And if nobody buys the product, well, you're just going to spend a bunch of money on marketing, hoping to have a couple of people from awareness trickle down into this. So realistically, when I launch advertising on a direct to consumer platform, I like to start first and foremost with our consideration and focus very heavily on consideration to conversion. Many people are probably going to ask themselves, okay, so how do I know how to even start creating an ad? What kind of ads are going to convert? How do I even get into that process? Fantastic that you all asked that, even though nobody probably did. The very first thing, so let's look at this brand. We have this brand, Carnivore Electrolytes, right? So they are selling an electrolyte powder here that we can see. They have a little thing going on with their, here we go. So they're selling electrolyte powder. Now they have a very specific ICP that they're going after, right? they're going after basically anybody who understands the carnivore brand. They do sell the electrolyte. They also sell beef jerky. So they have a couple of cross-sell opportunities here as well when they're looking at different product offerings they have. Fantastic. Now, if we were to start to try and advertise this, would it make sense for us, I'm going to get rid of this, to take an ad like this video that they have here and just start pumping this out? The reality is no, because not many people know what carnivore electrolytes is. This, however, is a great ad for awareness. But notice how they have this video directly on their website, right? This is a great awareness driver at the end of the day because we're showing off the product. We're making people understand that this even exists in the first place. So when they're actually trying to create the net new, what should they do? Well, there's a handy little tool that anybody has access to, and that is called the Meta Ad Library. The Meta Ad Library is where you can actually go and you can start to look up different types of ads. One of the major things with this is that you can get super granular with this. You can look up somebody specific's ad. So we could, if we wanted to do I guess I'll pull this up here where we go into the ad library. So what we could do here is we could actually go into the ad library here. We can just do all ads of any kind, and we could even do carnivore electrolytes, right? And see what kind of ads they're currently running across the board. So we can actually search for them in particular, where it's like, okay, we have carnivore solutions. I don't think this is them specifically, but it is one of those where we can start looking at all of those ads and see what they're doing. But for this purpose, what we would want to do, since we're looking at the idea of trying to gain some consideration and some conversions off of Meta, we want to look up electrolytes, because what are we going to do? We're going to specifically start diving down into seeing what other electrolyte brands are actually putting out there from an advertised perspective. Now, the reason for this is that if you look at your competitors at any point in time and understand some of the larger competitors you want to emulate, if you look at their content, you can get a lot of ideas around how you emulate it, and you can start to actually look at their full funnel as well. So great example here is Lament? I never understood LMNT. I don't know how to say that one, but essentially we have Drink Lament, right? And so we actually can see their full ad here. We can see the video what it's talking about, and it gives a lot of overall character arc around it, right? And you can actually go in without actually costing them money as well to see what does that bring you to. And this is their landing page. And this is the second part of this funnel when we're talking about conversion. Conversion happens on your website, right? One of the biggest problems that I see so many different brands have is that what they'll end up doing with ads is they will drive people direct onto their overall just homepage. They'll drive them direct to the website. And right now, if we just drove people direct onto the website here, they have to go through, they have to do shop now, right? So they'll go through, they'll click this shop now. Okay, now they have some products to look at. Okay, they'll click on one of the products. Now we're actually finally on the shoppable screen here. We can actually go through, look at some stuff. Oh, we have different flavors. Then they have to add it to their cart. So, we'll add it to the cart. Okay, now we have to, check out or view cart. There's a lot of clicks there. Every single click that you have at any point in time is a potential chance for a converting customer to drop off. And so we see this right now where we look at Lament and we see that it takes direct to this. And not only does it take direct to this, we're seeing different offerings here, right? An ability to add it to our cart. So we'll just add it to our cart here, pulls up, and immediately we can check out. But we also have the ability to add some other stuff in here. So we'll check out immediately on here, right? And boom, now we're right at the checkout. So driving from the homepage from an ad to the homepage took us 5 clicks before we got to checkout. Whereas driving direct to your landing page with the product only took 2, right? That is a huge factor of margin when we're actually diving into the overall structure. Now, again, looking at the actual ads themselves, they have a few different ones that they're also running. And this is what we're going to call asset iteration. Both of these are going towards the same landing page at the end of the day. The only difference is going to be a different one of the products. So before we had the watermelon salt, this one is going to the citrus salt. But the reason, wrong tab. The reason for this is that we have asset iteration. So we can actually see here immediately different kinds of assets that they're running. Notice how this one as well is a very much just awareness driver, 6 seconds long. This one right here is a brand building, right? Consideration.
Your body needs it.
There we go. Body needs it. Your body needs the electrolytes, right? And so this is a 30-second one. This is 6 seconds. And that's one of the biggest aspects with asset iteration, is that you want to have variety in the different kinds of ads you're running at any point in time. This is a great example of awareness. Very quick, to the point, captures consumers' attention very quickly, and it's something you're not expecting them to necessarily click through to because they're scrolling really, really fast. This one captures attention and wants to keep them there, because the longer that you can keep the consumer on the video, the more likely they are to actually drive. So this is where I'm talking about the idea of looking at your competitors and understanding what kind of ads they are actually running. Because again, our goal when we first launch is to get consideration and then immediate conversion. So your landing page is the biggest aspect on your conversion, as well as the number of clicks. Consideration comes from the type of ad you do. I do recommend typically longer form ads for consideration, usually between 15 and 30 seconds, whereas you want shorter form, usually around 6 seconds for the awareness side. So all that being said, one of the major things within this as well that many people probably are going to ask is where does Google fall into this, right? Google ads are one of the biggest things. And, is Google a consideration? Is it awareness? Is it conversion? It's not conversion unless you're doing Google shopping ads. But what I will tell you is that Google is one of the great ad platforms because they can be both awareness and consideration at the same time. My best advice when it comes to consideration is the type of keywords you're actually utilizing, right? And this is where actually one of the great things is that not only do you have the meta ads library, you actually also have Google Ads transparency, right? And so Google Ads transparency is going to let us actually find any form of ad that we want. So for instance, again, we were already looking at the meta ones. So let's look at Drink Lament. We'll do them, right? We're going to do anytime right now. We just want to see what kind of ads are they running, right? Again, we're taking competitor data from somebody who is in our category so we can start to understand, what is it that they're actually driving, right? So you'll see immediately most of what they're driving here is what is going to be considered a just text right here. So you can actually do the different formats you can see their video here. I'm trying to see if they have an image one here. They do. They have an image one right here. Fantastic. So these are the three different types. You have your text, you have your image, and then you have your video, right? But the big aspect at the end of the day is how do you actually choose a lot of these keywords? And that's where I would get into the aspect of using one of two softwares. You can either use a software called SEMrush. I personally like a software called Ahrefs. Ahrefs, for those that are uninitiated, I'm just pulling it up here real quick. I'll make sure I don't share any login details here. Fantastic. So Ahrefs, for those that are uninitiated, is software where you can actually start to just track keywords across things. So here, we'll do drinklament.com. We're going to go to them. And what we can actually do off of this is that we can actually see a site explorer. We can start to see what are their AI here, what is their organic search, organic traffic. Then we also can see their paid. And the paid is what we actually care about, because what we want to see is what are they actually going after? And you'll notice immediately one of the very first keywords that they're advertising on is a competitor of theirs as well, Liquid IV. And so from here, they also obviously have branded keywords in here. They have another competitor, Stevia. And then finally, we have leg cramps, right? Being a huge traffic, has 7,000 average traffic, 29K volume of people actually looking for it, right? So this is a great keyword for them to go after. So the goal here is basically to start to understand what is the competitor targeting so you can actually build out your own keyword list as well from their own specific advertising. Now at this point, what are they advertising? So what do their ads look like on Google? And then secondarily, you know exactly what keywords they're advertising against it. It's a great thing. And so each one of these is going to be a different type of keyword, different area that they can start to advertise on. So all that being said, I'm going to stop there for just a second, just to kind of let things simmer. We're going to hop in here in a minute into a Q&A. So if anybody has specific questions on everything that's being covered here, anything about direct consumer funnels, how to build out your marketing funnel, feel free to drop them in the chat as we're kind of talking here, and we'll get to them here in a second.
Awesome. So as I understood it, we have the funnel, and we think of, the, like you said, ICAP funnel. It's very linear. Impressions, clicks, add to cart, purchase. They see, on the search results page, most likely is the impression. Then they click. Then they, are on your listing. Maybe they added carts. Hopefully they finish the purchase there. But there's also the DSP part that, most sellers aren't involved with, and that is more of the awareness play. So most sellers aren't in the awareness business where, like, the goal is not to get a click. The goal is just they at least have some level of familiarity, like you're at least planting the seed. Is that a fair way to phrase awareness, and one of the differences between
it is. And I think one of the bigger things at the end of the day that we also kind of look at is this idea of, with an ICAP, it is very linear, right? It's almost like a tube at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Whereas when we're looking at something like the direct consumer marketing, once you actually get to that bottom where it's advocacy, right? That advocacy and the content created from it almost reiterates awareness. It's almost like it feeds back through the awareness funnel, because what that advocacy is doing is it's taking other people feeding into advocacy who watch that content, building up the awareness again, so people can start trickling back down into the funnel. And so it's very cyclical in nature of how you actually kind of tackle a full marketing funnel.
Yeah, that's such a very good point. Because it's in Amazon, there's the flywheel effect of, the algorithm does it, but here it's a little bit more organic in the sense of, like, it's not like, paid ads lead to organic, but like people are actually like sharing it, to their friends. And so you're getting real referrals, and not just, you're in good blessings with the A9 algorithm or whatever. So now when folks are saying, okay, there's a lot I could do, and that maybe I got to focus down a little more on the consideration stage so I can get those purchases. What is that for, like the gentleman earlier who said he has 0 sales so far on his store? What is that first traffic source that they should go after? Is it, Meta, Google?
I think Meta is the simplest and fastest, right? If you are able to just do a bit of iteration. Now, if you're somebody who can't do a little bit of asset iteration and everything, Google is a great play, right? Second to that, or I guess third to that at that point, I would look at utilizing things like UGC content in this day and age. Like, any brand that is looking to launch on direct to consumer should realistically be looking at UGC content as a major kind of brand building play, because it is fairly inexpensive if you do it correctly, but can have major upside benefits at the end of the day for just both awareness and consideration.
Yes.
Meta, though, is the fastest plug and play, though, without fail.
Well, and everybody likes fast, so now for folks who maybe are even more beginner than that, like Shopify versus other platforms, what are our platform?
So Shopify, I mean, realistically, there's 2 major platforms that people should be looking at when they're first launching direct to consumer. Shopify is just the bread and butter. Everybody knows it. And to be honest, it's the most user-friendly at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. It is exceptionally easy for anybody who has a very base level knowledge of building sites and, starting up an e-commerce business to go onto and set something up. And I think I even made a video maybe last year showing how you can set up a Shopify store in under an hour, right? And so that's a major thing that I would encourage people to do. Now, the secondary to that, though, is WooCommerce, right? Which, a lot of people are hesitant on WooCommerce and everything. They're they're like, I don't know about it. But the major benefit to utilizing something like WooCommerce at the end of the day is SEO. So it has way better overall ability to rank organically on search engines and also within AI algorithms than Shopify does. Just because the way that Shopify's backend is built, it does not work exceptionally well for crawlers for your SEO and organic. So if you're somebody who's just starting and you have no base level knowledge, Shopify is a great just first starting tool, especially if you have no like awareness whatsoever. Whereas if you're somebody who is like already kind of in the realm and you're trying to build up your overall awareness, make sure that like you're as well getting organic ranking, things like that, WooCommerce is going to be the major play that I would go after.
Okay, good deal. And folks, if you have questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section. It's like, it should be probably in the bottom right-hand corner. You can post a comment that's chat, same thing. And we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So one of the things that you had shown was, well, it's two things actually you showed, was the Meta Transparency Library and the Google Transparency Library. And I think it's interesting to go through that because I don't think Amazon has a transparency library.
It does. Amazon, so the closest thing to like a transparency library for Amazon is like Helium 10, right? Or any of those tools that will basically, pull in all of that advertised data at the end of the day. Those are the easiest ways to see what your competitors are sponsoring on, right? Whereas like when you're looking at direct to consumer, you can pull a lot of that. You can even actually at this point now, TikTok also has a transparency library for their advertising. So you can see pretty much the three major social platforms and whatnot for getting advertising out there as to what other people are advertising, what that looks like. And it's a great tool to utilize because if nothing else, it gives you context and ideas as to what your competitors are doing, right? If not as well, also, again, when utilizing something alongside it, like Ahrefs, being able to see how they're actually advertising it, right? And who they're advertising that to so that you can start to build up your own individual list of this is working, this isn't. One of the best things that I like utilizing the ads library for is actually tracking competitor advertisements, because what you can end up doing there is you can start to see immediately what ads are they keeping around for a long time and what ads are they immediately like turning off after a week, right? And once you start to see that, you'll understand immediately, this is working for them, this isn't working for them. I should be doing something similar to this.
Yeah, exactly. How can I put this in my brand language? Because one of the big differences, on Amazon, you just say, I want to go after the term garlic press, and you just show up. You don't have to create the ad. They don't ask you for images because the images are already on your listing. They don't ask you for copy because they're just going to put your title. And so like it's easy. Whereas with other platforms, it can be a little scary for folks because now all of a sudden you have to give them creatives, you have to see what's working. But that's an excellent tip, that just because the ad's there doesn't mean it's working. Because if the ad's been there for 2 days, it might be working, it might not. But if it's been there for 6 months, there's a good chance that ad is working. Otherwise, why would they be spending all that money on it?
Well, and one of the biggest aspects there, right, is if you're somebody who starts to pay for UGC content, right? One of the great parts about utilizing UGC is obviously that you're working with a creator who's going to put out that content on their own. But you can also then take that content a lot of times if you work it out with the creator and utilize that as a specific ad creative, right? And so you're not only getting the creator's audience, you're also utilizing that as an ad creative that you can push to other platforms as well. And then if we get into the realm of something like TikTok, you can actually also sponsor specific videos for that creator as well. So if that creator creates some form of content, you can actually sponsor their direct post on that so that people know exactly what post it is and whatnot, and get more audience overall for that actual brand.
Yeah, very good. All right, so we talked a little bit about finding those ads. Now, once you got the consideration, you got the purchases, Now what do we do with the data we have? Because that's one of the selling points to having your own stores. Amazon says, well, you can run a brand tailored promotion to your previous purchases, but they don't tell you who they are. Here, you know what they are. So
yeah,
what
so
do you
that
do with
gets
that data?
Yeah, so that gets back into the funnel of retention, right? And what do we actually do with that, right? And so as I said earlier, if somebody buys from you one single time, that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is a full-fledged customer, because, if they don't ever come back to you, it basically means you're at 1-to-1, one sale, one customer, right? And that's
Right.
not a great scenario. What instead you want is a retention play. The two major platforms, or two major ways to do retention, are through email and through SMS. And so inside that, email is email marketing, right? Where you're going to have a few different campaigns. I typically am going to recommend that you get your customers signed up for usually a 1 to 3 times per week newsletter. That's something that just starts to build brand recognition in their minds. They start to see some data about you. If you ever do a new product launch, you want to do that, but you want to build specific campaigns. The goal at the end of the day is if you can get somebody to purchase from you again within the first 11 days after their initial purchase, that person is likely to become a lifetime customer, right? That's going to be one of the major aspects inside of that. Now, the second to that is SMS, right? And not every single brand is collecting SMS data or the phone numbers of their customers, but they realistically should, because SMS has been shown to have a huge effect. And not just SMS at this point, but you can also do WhatsApp as well. So if you're somebody who has more of an international audience, that's a really big deal, considering I think it's over 60 or 70% of the world right now with phones uses WhatsApp. So it's a huge platform, right? And that's another major area where you can start to target them both via SMS and via WhatsApp, because that's going to be more immediate of gratification. So if you're ever running, and one of my favorite strategies ever within direct to consumer is Black Friday. Running a Black Friday deal, the best way to do that is always have an SMS campaign that is going out the week before Black Friday for any form of promotion that you're doing, so that people know to expect it. So you can already start building up that funnel through retention from people who have purchased you before. And getting those people from retention, you're pulling them back out and getting them back into consideration prior to even doing a sale of some kind, so that you can get them direct down into the converting funnel.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And then the nice thing too is, if you are doing those SMS messages or emails, what do people do? They sometimes hit forward. They copy and paste it and they send it to their friend. Like, hey, you should go check this out. So, it oftentimes, the purchase is not just living in isolation. You're getting these other people coming in through that as well. So like you said, it's that flywheel effect of you're bringing them, from, they were a customer. Now we want to get them to become a customer again and bringing them back in. So we're creating our own flywheel. We're not depending on Amazon to do it for us if Jeff Bezos in his infinite wisdom blesses us as such.
No, and I think the big part there as well is that's almost, getting into, again, the advocacy piece, right? And so one of the major things that, great example, our founder, who many might know, Steven, he has all sorts of things that he is big fan of when it comes to health and fitness. And of course, he has all these email lists. Every single time he gets an email of some kind of promotion that's running a once a month promotion of some type of service or some type of product that he really likes, he will post it. He will post it with inside of Slack in some channels. He will send it out to our entire organization and be like, hey, everybody, I like this. And that's true advocacy there, where it's you have one single guy who is a real big fan, enjoyer of your brand. And that guy you are sending out a text to. And guess what? That text is now sent out to 500 people without you even realizing it, right? And yeah, of course, attribution, the funnel there can be a little difficult at times and whatnot. But if you have all of your UTMs set up correctly and whatnot, you can generally, I was trying to say
usually.
Yeah, usually. You can usually track all of that as well on the back end. Yeah,
very good. So, it's that, we're we're creating awareness. So at the end of the day, if they don't know about you, they're not going to buy from you. So whether we're using ads to do that, we're using existing customers and coming back to them and creating our own flywheel, we're creating advocacy. We're now on their own. They're creating this. I'm not even sure how they got in here. Maybe they clicked on a link, maybe not. But, you know, at the end of the day, like if you have sales coming in that you're just not sure how they came in, but they came in, it's almost a good problem to have.
Always is. Always is at the end of the day. The best sale is the sale you don't have to pay for, though. Exactly. We want to minimize that. And one of the things is that we're doing with like the emails and SMSs is we're creating that lifetime value of a customer. So on Amazon, we have more tools than we used to influence it, but we don't have as much control over it as we would on our own store. So now with this, we've talked about a lot of things. Now the thing that might be kind of blowing some people's brains is like, okay, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Amazon's a little more, like you said, it's like in a box. It's very linear. You just kind of, you know, follow the bouncing ball along and you figure out what part of the bounce do I need to work on. Whereas with this, it can be tricky trying to figure all this out on your own. So quick shameless plug that we'll do here for folks is, let me go ahead and share my screen. So a lot of people like the idea of a growth channel, like what we just talked about. But like we said, there's a lot of moving pieces. And some people might say, hey, you know, I want to figure it out on my own. Okay, great. But a lot of people are saying, you know, I've got a lot of moving pieces in my business as it is. It can be a lot. So you might need some existing help with your channels or with your existing channels. You might need to add, if you're going to add on anything else, you're going to need help. So where are you stuck at the time? So you might be saying to yourself, I have a store, but it's not converting. Maybe you've got some traffic, but it's just not profitable, especially if you're running ads, but you're like, okay, you know, is it a conversion rate problem? Is it a click-through rate problem? Is it a lifetime value of a customer problem? There's a lot of moving pieces here that can be hard to figure out on your own. You know, are those customers just not coming back? Which goes back to that lifetime value, creating your own flywheel, as we were talking about. And at the end of the day, are you just watching this and you're saying, Amazon's just carrying too much of the business? Like you're looking at this saying, you know what, if somebody in seller performance or whatever the team's called these days clicks a button, is my business gone? Or is 80% of my business gone if they take down my hero SKU? Like all those little things are those things that keep everybody up late at night. People used to talk about the red flag on Amazon. If you had a seller performance notification, it'd be in the, it would show up there in Seller Central. Like if those are concerns that you have, it's definitely time to consider your own store. Now, if you need our help with it, the next step is just simply book a meeting. It's you know, basically a free consultation. Like there's no there's no requirement to do anything other than, you know, talk to our team to see how we might help you. Just go to myamazonguy.com/call and you go specifically to the team that handles helping you figure out your direct-to-consumer store. So any thoughts that you'd like to add to this here, Noah? No, I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is that, you know, whether you're somebody who is, you know, actively selling on, you know, Shopify, WooCommerce or direct to consumer, or you're somebody who just doesn't even know where to start with it. I mean, we have some options across the board. And so, you know, if you're looking for some help with it, more than happy to talk you through steps. I mean, you know, we also have full in-house team for just website UI, UX. And so we've built out, I think at this point, a little over probably 30 or so different sites and different platforms for people. And so, you know, a big part of this is just figuring out where to start. And I think the best place to start is usually talking to people who know what they're talking about.
Exactly. And we are results-based here. We're systems-based. We have the knowledge and the know-how. And, we've been training our team on this, for years now. And it's all about, how we can help you take that to the next level, because, as much as we are my Amazon guy, we love Amazon. But like most people, we have this kind of complicated relationship with Amazon. We love it.
I wouldn't say that we love Amazon.
We love the traffic Amazon potentially blesses us with.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it.
Yes. No, that's a fair distinction to make. So at the end of the day, Amazon could change your business tomorrow. Whereas if you own the customer data, you don't have to worry about algorithm changes, or suddenly they change the policy on images, or your A+ content all of a sudden gets taken down, your listing gets taken down, all of a sudden you're deemed a pesticide, and you're like, there's nothing pesticide about my product, or whatever the new pesticide is. They think you're radioactive. All of a sudden the batteries you have are a problem, even though you have no batteries. Like, we've all heard these horror stories on Amazon, so it's time to figure out your own store. So with that, again, just go to myamazonguy.com/call, and you can set up a team with our you can set up a meeting with our direct-to-consumer team. So with that, let's go ahead and get back into some potential questions. But again, we're going to open up to questions. I know some people might be saying to themselves, like, okay, there's a lot of places I could go with questions. What do I even ask? And so I would say, if you're thinking about asking a question, just like, where are you? Is it getting started? Do you or here's a question, Noah. Let's say somebody has 100 SKUs on Amazon and they don't have a store yet. Do they put all 100 SKUs on Shopify, or do they do a handful of them?
I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest hesitancies for people is the question of, okay, so I'm selling on Shopify. How do I even sell my product? How do I fulfill my product? And one of the major things that I typically would recommend to people in this kind of case is the idea of what is considered Amazon multi-channel fulfillment. And so I'll actually add my thing back to the stage here. Oh, wrong thing. Here we go. So one of the things is this Amazon multi-channel fulfillment. For anyone who is unaware, this essentially allows you to port your entire catalog over from Amazon onto Shopify with just the click of a few buttons, right? Nice. And on top of that, Amazon will take the inventory from your current active FBA inventory and fulfill all of your Shopify orders through their platform. And so if you are somebody who is kind of afraid of, like, how do you do all this? It's not hard, right? They even have a full setup guide down here, all of the different things, how to get Buy with Prime button on it as well if you want to. So that's one of the major areas that I would really focus on if you are somebody who's thinking about it. Should you put all 100 products? You definitely can. Is it going to be way more effort and work? Yeah. So I would probably choose whatever your top, 3 to 5 top bestsellers are and start with those. And then slowly over time, start to port more and more over.
Yeah, definitely. And even if you port all of them, you don't have to send traffic, like especially paid traffic, to all of them.
Yep.
Now, are there any differences you've seen in the type of products that work well on Amazon versus their own store? So like if someone has, like, let's say that 100 SKUs, is it likely to be the same SKUs that work on Amazon, work on their own store, or they're red flags?
Yeah, usually it is. At the end of the day, I think the best type of product for direct to consumer is just consumer packaged goods, right? Because it has high repurchasability, right? And so that's always going to be just like the best, the bread and the butter. That being said, the big aspect there is just going to come down to what does that actually look like, right? Should you utilize direct to consumer if you're not a CPG brand? Yeah, absolutely. You can still, even if you're selling like hardline goods, be a direct to consumer brand as well. How do you choose your specific products? I would just go with your top products on Amazon, because your audience is still going to be very similar to the Amazon audience. At the end of the day, Amazon's audience is basically the general audience at this point in time with how many people shop on the platform.
Very good. All right, so we do have a question here from Ahmed. Thank you for your question, Ahmed. Don't you think omni-channel marketing is more expensive than Amazon PPC?
It can and it can't be, right? So it depends on what kind of marketing you're actually doing. I honestly think that it's very category dependent, right? That's the bigger thing. Now, the big caveat there, even though it can be more expensive to get that initial sale on your direct to consumer platform or omni-channel than it is on Amazon from a cost per click perspective, Amazon's taking a lot of fees, right? And so the reality is that when you're looking at that, right, let's say that Amazon's fees before advertising take up 43% of gross margin on average, right? If we're looking at it that way, that means that realistically, as long as whatever it is you're spending on advertising for omni-channel and direct to consumer is less than or at 43% more than what you are spending on Amazon, you are in the positive there, right? From the actual thought of it. And it's actually cheaper in that regard than it is for Amazon side of things. Now, of course, there's other areas that step into that, but for instance, on Amazon, even with like retargeting and repurchase, unless it's subscribe and save, right? You are still having to pretty much pay for every single reorder that somebody does. Whereas on direct to consumer, once you actually have somebody in your funnel and you remarket and retarget them from, let's say, an email perspective, email retargeting for sales is drastically cheaper than any form of other advertising at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Email, I want to say there was somebody recently put out, HubSpot had done something in the past, but like somebody, like a HubSpot type thing, it was like 30 plus to 1 ROI for email marketing, and a really good dialed in direct to consumer brand, it's like 38 to 1, sometimes in the 40s. So for every dollar you spend on email marketing, you can get way more.
It's such a cheap way to do marketing, but you have to build that list, which a lot of people, that's where you get into this idea of like customer acquisition cost as a full number of your entire business versus just individual platforms, right? So your customer acquisition cost for email marketing is going to be significantly lower than it is for meta ads, but they will even each other out a little bit more from a full business perspective.
Very good. All right, follow-up question from Ahmed. How about the trust level of the customer when purchasing from a store rather than Amazon?
Yeah, I think that's always a commonality that people have, is being like, well, people shop on Amazon because they know Amazon, right? And the big reality of it is that people who are going to buy on Amazon are going to buy on Amazon. You're not going to convert like an Amazon primary purchaser into your direct consumer website. But vice versa, people who are open to buying on websites are definitely open to buying on Amazon as well. And so a lot of times we tend to look at the full business of it, right? Because you can't be looking at individual platforms, direct to consumer, Amazon, Walmart, whatever it is, because the reality is we see a lot of times when we do things such as like an awareness campaign on Meta, that the direct brand term search volume on Amazon increases, right? And so you may look at it and be like, oh, my Meta ads are doing awful. But then all of a sudden you look at it and your organic brand sales on Amazon have gone up 25%, right? Mm-hmm. It's because you're targeting a lot of people who are then going to the platform that they prefer and purchasing from that platform. So you have to look at the entirety of the funnel and all of your channels as a business level, then individual channel level, then individual ad platform level, because each one of those is going to let you understand a little bit more of how everything is working in tandem together as a true full funnel marketing approach.
Yeah, and another thing I've noticed too recently is like, if I see like somehow like a video of like Jeff Bezos talking like on stage, like at a conference is usually being interviewed. If you look at the comments, they're not all roses and sunshine. There's a lot of people, not even sellers, just in general, that are like, Amazon's starting to have a backlash. Like they're not growing the same way they did before. There's getting to be a little bit of just, people, there's resentment towards Amazon amongst some parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a company where, for those that don't know, Amazon is a company where if you ever get fired from Amazon for whatever reason, doesn't matter what role you had in the company and how long ago it was or anything, they will not rehire you for any role whatsoever. And if you ever quit, I believe as well, they also won't rehire you. And so it's in certain circumstances, they have it like they have it called like a voluntary offboarding or something like that, where, essentially they don't fire you. It's like the thing where you take the voluntary offboarding instead of the firing if you want the ability to be rehired in the future. Because if you voluntarily offboard and they don't fire you, you can be rehired. But if they ever fire you, you can't be rehired. And they were running into an issue a few years back where they were literally running out of people applying for positions to work in Amazon warehouses because of this, because they would refuse to potentially rehire anybody who had left Amazon. So it's a huge thing where, resentment is an all-time high for the company, and also, but daily need also, or desire for it, is also at an all-time high.
Exactly. And those people who do not like Amazon are likely to buy from places other than Amazon. So just keep that in mind. So it's not about being we're not against Amazon, but just be realistic of, knowing that there's certain populations of people who just don't want to buy on Amazon. All right, and this probably is going to be our last question here. So Sanka asks, multi-channel from Amazon, does FBA fulfill everything, including warehousing, for your Shopify edition?
Yeah, it definitely can. So multi-channel fulfillment, it allows you to just utilize all of your Amazon inventory. If you're somebody who's not even selling on Amazon and you just want to get started on direct to consumer, you can actually utilize just multi-channel fulfillment without even being an Amazon seller. So it can work both ways at the end of the day. They can act as, a 3PL for you. They can act as warehousing, all of that, or they can just take your current FBA inventory and send that out for you. So,
yeah, and at the end of the day, Amazon is more than happy to do it. For them, they kind of know what products are going where, so they like the data side of it. So this is feeding a little bit of data. But the nice thing is, it used to be like if you had a Shopify store and you wanted your Amazon multi-channel fulfillment capabilities to get it to the customer, you literally would have to either copy and paste their address, their city, their state, their zip code, and paste it into the Amazon multi-channel fulfillment order. Now it all just kind of happens, and so they've created that bridge that wasn't always there. So good stuff. So with this, thank you everybody for joining us. This was fun. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. You can at least see the opportunities that exist on your own store and why that's important, and how it can actually feed into your Amazon store and help you just grow your margins and grow your business. And so with that, Noah, thank you for coming on here and sharing your knowledge on all this. And thank you everybody for coming.